folks, on the water today with Matthew Brannon.
Hey folks.
And we're looking for some redfish. Looks like you got a spook working there.
Just a bone super spook junior. Works for the trout and the reds here.
Nice. Yeah, I'd eat that. So talk to me about our conditions and what you're looking at here. I mean, this is some of your home water. Where do you usually?
We're on the Wando. We're on the Wando River right now. High tide was at 7:24.
Yeah.
It's especially high. I've never seen it actually this high. So we're looking to get into some reds in the grass, maybe catch some tailors back on the mud flats. So we just got out here and we're going to work back towards this tree line. There's a good mud flat back there where I would assume with the tide being up this high, it's probably got some mullet back there on the flat, and we're going to see if the reds are in there with them. Maybe catch a couple trout, and then if we can catch some flounders either on soft plastics or on a bladed bait, that'd be a little bonus.
So I got something I want to try, something that I use. As soon as he acknowledged that it was a very high tide and everything is flooded. This is a bait, twin spin, something that I make with a do-it mold. It's basically tasty. Is 2R bend wires and a do-it mold, and I got a Z-Man Swimmers as a trailer on there. It's a 1 ounce spinner bait, and the reason why I like the twin spin, I usually fish brushy areas with largemouth, but there's a blow up
trout.
But I'm thinking this is gonna come through the grass real well, so I'm gonna give that a shot. Do you do well with spinner baits out here?
I do. I throw a lot of spinner baits, usually like a Strike King Magic or a Slayer Lures Inc. They make their own spinner baits that have some different blades instead of just the Colorado blade.
Yeah.
But definitely paired with a 1/4 ounce jig head and a Z-Man Swimmer Z or Slim Swim.
Yep.
They do very well, really anywhere I fish for reds, whether it's Louisiana, Florida, or here.
Yeah. Nice. All right, well, I'm gonna get my twin spin up in this grass pretty deep. Do you look for the motion before you even go to a spot?
I mean, I'll blind cast if there's a creek that feeds into a flat, but yeah, we're looking for grass to be moving. You'll see the reeds shake, or if it gets shallow enough, I think we're a little too deep right now.
Yeah.
You'll actually see the tails up.
It reminds me of snakehead fishing up our way.
Yeah.
You look for the grass moving, and you go to them, and you don't cast till you see it.
Obviously in here, they're gonna be slamming mullet. It's also shrimp season, so there's plenty of shrimp up in the grass, so you'll see them busting shrimp.
Nice. All right, well, I'm gonna grind away with this spinner bait. It comes through brush really clean. I can't imagine it's not gonna come through this grass very nicely.
Well, with it being this high, I mean, the grass isn't thick at the top, so as long as it's not grinding right on the bottom, it should blow right through it.
All right, let me go do it. Got a little trout on diesel minnow. Maybe wet my hands to be kind to this guy. Diesel minnow in redfish toad color. And there it goes. That is the diesel minnow redfish toad color trout eye jig head 1/4 ounce, and I'm fishing we actually came out of the grass and the tide is ripping pretty good. We're at these little creek mouths, or not really creek mouths, but they're just the outlets of all this grass, and it's on the points. So as the current rips past these grassy points where it opens up into the main part of this river, they're just right on the current seams. And Matthew's caught several like that, and hooked into one good red that I saw. I couldn't catch up with him to get it on film, but he had a good red on. But it's right on these points, current ripping, and bouncing the bottom with soft plastics, Elaztecs. I think he got his on a swimming trout trick. This one on a diesel minnow. See if we can get some bigger ones. But it's bottom bouncing, and something that seems to help is if you have a hard bottom, the oyster beds, you know, it'll tick across, and I'm ticking it now. I like that. I'm just letting it tumble through there, maintaining bottom contact. Alright. Ooh. Pretty fish. Drop an anchor, maybe there's more. It's got that pretty turquoise tail. Come here, you. I'll get you off here in a second. That was just casting into one of these eddies on the points. And there we go. There's other ones thrashing around in there. I'm gonna go catch his buddy. I can actually hear that. And it's just letting it sit. Oh, and he's off.
Oh, no.
He wasn't any bigger than the first one. What you got, man?
Just a little flounder.
Nice.
Came off an oyster bed.
What did he crunch?
That trout swimmer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Same one you've been getting the trout on.
Trout trick.
How big these have to be to keep them?
Only 12 inches, I believe, here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, they don't have to be very big, but I wouldn't keep one less than probably 18 inches.
Right.
You just don't get enough meat off of him.
Yeah.
So.
Cool looking fish.
Yeah. Another little red?
Nope, that's a trout. So Matthew just got a redfish with a very turquoise tail, and then I threw in the same rip, pulled this guy out. Yeah, I think. All right. The pretty one. All right, see you, little guy. All right, another creek mouth opening. That one has a real strong rip on it. All right, so I use the Gorilla Glue to keep the Elaztec on that trout eye jig head. All right, helps it out a little bit. You have a different way of doing it. Show me what you got.
So the trout eye jig heads have a double barbed keeper on them.
Yeah.
And it works out perfectly if you run your Elaztec, any of the Elaztec baits up onto that hook.
Yeah.
Go all the way up on the keeper, take a short piece of braid, and just tie a double overhand knot between those two barbs of that hook keeper, and your soft plastic will stay up on the bait, or up on the jig head. And the Elaztec's so soft that it'll pinch down. The braid actually pinches down into the soft plastic.
Yep.
But the action doesn't change at all.
Huh.
And it holds on just like that.
And do you trim it at all?
I do.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Nice.
That's a minnow Z on a, that's actually a redfish eye jig head.
Yeah.
Just a little bit stouter hook.
Nice. in one of these creeks and found one of the bigger little outlets. Stop. This one's not real long, but it's thick. It's a tall fish. Pretty tail markings, blue, kind of turquoise tail. See you guys. Oh, up and in. Up and in. How are you? Thank you for playing. Oh, that was fun. Okay. I'll get this out of your mouth in just a second. And then you may go home. So by now, all of the creeks there's nothing left in them. I mean, there's no water. So we're out in front of one of the mouth of one of the bigger ones, and all the fish that were in the back are just waiting for high tide. And I don't know how long we have before that happens, but they definitely want to get back up in there, and they're jumping at the surface everywhere. That pretty tail. Yeah, but yeah, they're on all sides of me. Just Matthew's back there telling me that he's got shrimp jumping out of the water up onto the mud flat there. So we've come way up into the creek as it's flooding back up, and I got a fish that I gotta turn you, that was really corralling a lot of the bait fish. I'm gonna loosen the drag just a hair. This is certainly big for the day. I just hope he stays hooked. Alright. All the credit to Matthew who spotted these. He said the egrets were really hanging out back here watching this guy. Actually, I think there were two of them. Move a lot of minnows. Oh, that was fun. Okay. Oh, yeah. Good. Got a nice one. That was fun. In super shallow. Beginning of the incoming tide. Beautiful fish. Nice, man. What a cool animal. Certainly not my big... Huh? I think so. Certainly not my biggest, but that was the shallowest I've caught him, and that was just a ton of fun. That beautiful tail. Cool. I mean, we came up through, I got my motor up, we came up through stuff that was just, I was just scooting through the ooze to get back here. I wasn't the only one doing that. When I first made the cast about where you are and I spooked on the cast, I spooked one close and one far away. And I think, well, I can't tell whether this is the close or the far away one. But that was fun. Yeah. So right up there where that fish was, there isn't any of it that is deeper than a foot. And this fish was just hanging out around a bunch of bait fish, and I put my diesel minnow in front of it, and you know, that was the bait fish that was swimming like it was sick, so she jumped on it. I'm gonna take her back out, release her, see if we can get back up in there, get the twin. There were two good ones up in there. But it's been fun watching the full cycle of it, starting flooded, totally evacuating, catching them as they're going out, and then as it's coming back in, the first fish to the first most aggressive top end predators getting in there and really feeding up on it. That was fun. Right. Nice. What ended up being a 26-inch South Carolina red. We'll go ahead and get her back. That was fun. It's amazing how quickly it floods back in here and makes all of this area that I think was 15 minutes ago was dry. It's filling up again. I think the big lesson for me, you know, not being someone that grew up and has spent much time fishing for redfish, is that, especially with that last fish, the furthest in they can get when it's flooding like that. I mean, that was the biggest fish that we saw all day, and he was right at the leading edge. He was as pushed in as far as he could possibly be without actually being on land. And he was just laying in there eating minnows, and the diesel minnow looked right to him. But that was a good lesson learned. You know, be right at the leading edge of the advancing flood tide, because that's where the bigger fish want to be for the best feeding opportunity.